While Hunter's criminal charges play out in court, the congressional investigation into his business dealings continues. Leading the charge there is Congressman Jim Jordan, who joins us now. Congressman, what's the state of play in the Hunter-Biden investigation?
We got a handful of more depositions to do, Stuart. We want to talk to Hunter Biden. We want to talk to James Biden, who did all this business together, and we want to talk to his business partners, Eric Schwerin, Bob Alinsky, Rob Walker, and then, frankly, we just sent a subpoena to this Kevin Morris individual. He's the guy who stepped forward and paid Hunter Biden's like $2.5 million in back taxes he owed, just I guess out of the goodness of his heart. So we want to talk to him as well. But the plan is to do those final depositions and then make a decision on, we're in the impeachment inquiry, do we move forward with actual articles of impeachment? And I think we will present this to the conference, and we'll make a decision as a conference if the facts warrant going to actual articles and moving into full impeachment of the president.
So they're both moving forward, albeit at a slow pace. Investigation of Hunter and the impeachment of President Biden. It's going forward, but it's slow.
Yeah. Well, the idea is to finish up all the depositions and the documents that we got three committees working on. You got the Ways and Means Committee, where the whistleblowers came forward and told us about how bad the investigation was run, how unusual, how it was slow-walked, the investigation into Hunter Biden. Then you have Chairman Comer's committee, who are looking at the suspicious activity reports, the bank records. They've subpoenaed those. They're compiling that information. That's where we learned about the $200,000 check, the $40,000 check that initially came from China. They're working on that. And then our committee is actually digging. We've now deposed 7 different people who were a part of the Hunter Biden investigation. I think the overall picture, Stuart, is pretty basic. This is a story as old as the hills. You got a politician who takes certain action that benefits his family financially, and then there's an effort to sweep it under the rug to conceal it. And that's exactly what we saw, particularly with David Weiss. We saw him let the statute of limitations expire for the tax years 2014 and 2015 regarding Hunter Biden, because those are the tax years he got all the money from the Ukrainian energy company Burisma. And that, if he digs into that, that takes him right to the White House, right to Joe Biden and his involvement in Burisma back when he was Vice President of the United States.
Congressman, do voters care? Because this has been going on for some time, and there's a degree of impeachment fatigue, investigation fatigue. Will this show up at the ballot box?
Our focus is not on how this may play one way or the other politically. Our focus is on the facts. We have a constitutional duty to do oversight. We are doing that. We had whistleblowers come forward who told us about what was going on with the investigation. And we know the fundamental facts. I think this story is really told, Stuart, with again, Joe Biden's involvement with the company Burisma. There are 4 fundamental facts with the Ukrainian energy company. Fact number 1, Hunter Biden gets put on the board of that company. Fact number 2, he's not qualified to be on the board. He said so himself in an interview. He got the job because of his last name. Fact number 3, the Burisma executives asked Hunter Biden to help them with the pressure they are under from the prosecutor in Ukraine. Fact number 4, Hunter Biden calls his dad. His dad goes to Ukraine and gets that prosecutor fired. And more importantly, he says, if you don't fire the prosecutor, he was not going to release the money that had already been approved by the President and the State Department, the loan money going to Ukraine. So he leveraged our tax money to get an outcome that benefited his family. That is, and that all squares, by the way, with what the confidential human source told the FBI that was recorded in this now somewhat famous 1023 form, where they lay out that fact pattern. So I think that's central to the case. There's things that's being added to it that Mr. Comer and the Oversight Committee have put together. That will all be presented to our conference here shortly, and then we'll make a decision.
A lot of us thought that when the GOP presidential field narrowed, that support for Trump would go down. In fact, it's gone up. He now leads DeSantis by 48 points and Haley by 51 points. Is he the undisputed leader of the Republican Party?
Heck yes. And the polls that I think mattered even maybe more than that are the polls that show him beating Joe Biden. And the reason that's going on is because Americans are smart. They remember how good things were a few years ago, and they know what's happened now. I mean, I always say we literally went from a secure border to no border. We went from safe streets to record crime. We went from $2 gas to $3, $4, $5 gas, and we went from stable prices to record inflation. And then, of course, not to mention, we projected strength from the White House under President Trump. And, of course, today we have Joe Biden. And then finally, maybe the thing that scares me the most, and we've spent so much time on, is how these federal agencies have been turned on we the people, whether it's censorship, whether it's the FBI going after pro-life Catholics, whether it's the DOJ looking into moms and dads who are showing up at school board meetings. So I think when Americans step back and look at all that, they say, man, we long for the days where we had President Trump, who did what he said he was going to do and actually made things so much better in our great country.
That was a very good rundown of the major issues of Biden, Hunter, impeachment, and Trump. Very good, Jim. You should teach a master class on politics. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you again later. You should, seriously.